everybody. Let's get huddled up again. Today we're going to talk about the practical galvanic series. This is a very useful tool for you in the corrosion control world to understand that there are different types of metals and they have an energy associated with them. So without further ado, let's get you started with practice. All right, so this is the galvanic series I was telling you about. You'll notice that we have two columns, just two. We've got one that shows us different metals that you probably are familiar with. The other column is a voltage measurement. Would you believe me if I told you that metals here on Earth, some of them have more energy than others, and that can be measured with something called an open circuit potential. So just think of this voltage measurement as a pipe to soil potential or a structure to electrolyte potential with respect to a copper-copper sulfate electrode. So at the top of this list, you're seeing what we call very, very active metals, the ones with a lot of energy in them, okay? Those active metals, if you measure them with a structure to electrolyte potential, they'll be very negative. As you work down this list on this particular graph, if you work down this list, you'll see that these other metals, they're less negative or noble metals. Okay, what does that mean? Well, the more active metals, when you couple them with more noble metals, low energy metals, corrosion will happen, and it'll always, always, always happen at the most active metal that it's connected to. For example, let's say that we couple magnesium. So we're going to be up here at the top where we have magnesium. We're going to attach that via a cable to steel, carbon steel, and we're going to bury it into the earth. Remember the four components of the corrosion cell? You can see that in another video if you've skipped it, but you must have all four components. You must have an anode, you must have a cathode, you must have a metallic path, and you must have the electrolyte or earth in order to have corrosion. So if we couple magnesium at the top of this list, very active, to steel, which is less active, I know that's silly to say, less active or noble, the more active metal is going to corrode to protect the more noble metal. So in that particular case, we're going to see that the magnesium is going to become the anode when we couple it to that steel. Again, why? Because the magnesium is the more active metal. It's the more negative metal. The more negative metal will always corrode to protect the more noble metal. Okay, that sounds pretty good, particularly if I have a carbon steel pipeline. I might find in some cases that I can utilize magnesium to protect or cathodically protect my steel pipeline. That's a good thing. All right, let's try it with a different metal. Let's pretend that instead of magnesium and steel being connected, let's connect steel, let's say to copper. If I look at this galvanic series, you'll notice that steel is more active than copper. Remember what I said, the more active metal will always corrode to protect the more noble metal. In this case, the more noble metal is copper. Well, heck, we would never even do that or think of doing that, or would we? Think about those compressor stations. Think about those pump stations. Think about other types of facilities that require grounding to be installed for surges or strikes or anything like that. Typically, they're going to utilize copper as their grounding and even build grounding grids made up of copper for those surge purposes that I just talked about. Well, guess what else is hanging out in those facilities? My carbon steel pipeline. So if we're not careful, we can accidentally or unintentionally damage our steel pipeline or corrode it simply because we have connected it to copper. That's the power of the galvanic series. This is something you can take a look at from time to time. You always are going to have more active metals, more noble metals. The active ones are going to corrode to protect the noble ones every time when you connect those things. That's it. We did it this round. We appreciate you. We'll see you in the next video. I'm your corrosion coach, Adam Johnston. Have a nice one.